Brass Monkey, Beastie Boys. Welcome, everybody, to the top of the hour here at KRFF 95.9 LPFM, Moorhead, Fargo, 701-478-4959, radiofreefargo.org. You go there, donate. You can listen to old shows. You can listen right now. You could be on Hacador Na Gloria, and you can be listening to this right now. And I assure you, if you want to know what's going on in cannabis legalization and just progress happening in the nation and then in the state of North Dakota, you're listening to the right spot. Things, I'm an anxiety kind of guy. I like things just, all my T's and I's dotted so I don't have to think. So I come in, all of a sudden, I can't access my Apple playlist, I can't use Google to get all the cannabis articles I normally would have lined up, which thus, removes some of the anxiety about even doing the craziness of what I'm doing. And now I had all of a sudden, boom, no music, you got to figure something out. Boom, no articles, you got to figure something out. So bang, I ain't going to not do it, right? So Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, we cover cannabis and cannabis legalization. We reduce stigma, and we play tunes that I normally have curated that go right where I want them to, right when I want them to. So that's not going to happen, but at 420, we're going to do the cannabis news. I got a fresh bag of cannabis news for y'all. So we're going to handle that at 420, and I'm just picking tunes up. Like, you can't see my hands, but I'm like, getting stuff happening next. So, again, welcome. Canna-Talk ND on YouTube. We removed the music. We edited it out. We give you the content on Spotify and Apple. RadioFreeFargo.org. Again, this is the station you want to give money to because they're, letting weirdos like me push out, not always a popular narrative, but it needs to be listened to anyway. There's so many benefits to cannabis and in a socioeconomic way that for us not to look at that to better us as the people, why would you want to listen to a radio station that didn't say otherwise, but I will say, when you get used to consistency, like me, who deals with, social anxieties and I suppose OCD tics, coming to this to do the show, to talk about cannabis, and all of a sudden have to jump from my normal thing and adapt. I had to adapt in 20 minutes. And, I have coping mechanisms, but if I didn't, I would definitely be calling this mobile mental health crisis response number, 1-800-233-4512. And in my case, I got a hold of the person above me, and I just always had a plan, but plans don't always work out. You can find yourself stinking homeless. Is where you can stink and find yourself. And the New Life Center helps people who are homeless and hurting go from merely surviving to truly thriving. Their aim is to help people in need discover value and find hope. The New Life Center has evolved into a multifaceted emergency and crisis service center. To learn more about NLC, visit their website at www.fargonlc.org or give them a call at 701-235-4453. It's a beautiful day here in Fargo. I'm not going to lie, a little frost on the pumpkins this morning. It's kind of gotten, it's kind of rebounded, I guess. And we talk about cannabis again, and there's a lot of news. And you can find me at Indie for Freedom of Cannabis, Canna-Talk ND. There's nothing really going on right now except get a hold of your legislators that can be voted in or out and see what they think about cannabis. If they're not green, buy Gene. You need good hygiene. I don't know, I just made that up. But anyway, we're going to jump into the first tune here. It's Sturgill Simpson, Mercury in Retrograde. I'm going to do some stuff. You guys come back. Radio Free Fargo, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'll see you in 4 minutes. That's news. Sturgill Simpson was the news you're going to find. Mercury in Retrograde here. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm Wilson. I'm beaming out of the battleship that is Radio Free Fargo, KRFF 95.9 LP FM. You can find me on the social medias, Instagram, Cannabis Caucus. You can find Canna-Talk ND. And I would also recommend Protect ND, apparently spearheaded by Ellie Shockley, which is also a boo on Measure 2. I was thinking I should come up with an El Sino, boo on Measure 2, because it's the Halloween season. And I had Halloween-type music and stuff lined up. I was going to play the new Necro Goblicon. He does Chop Suey, which is a System of a Down cover, which you would have loved me, and you'd have been, boy, that Wilson knows how to pick them. Well, this time I'm winging it, and again, I don't really know what I'm playing up next. I'm just typing something up like that with Sturgill. I'll play one more of him, then we got some Beasties. And but Measure 2, cannabis, how does that play into it? Well, Measure 2 was created by people that have kind of created the us and them. The legislators and representatives used to represent the people because we put them there because they believed what we believed, and thus an extension of the people. But lately, things have happened to where they have their own agenda, and by them, I mean the people up in the fancy place, up at the Capitol, I would say non-normal people. They started to act like they were better than us and forgot that we were the ones that put them there. And lately, with measures and initiatives, you'll see that like with all of them, Measure 3, and that's before this funny Measure 3, the legalization measure, the Committee for Compassionate Care, everything that's good that's happened in our state and other states have been people-driven initiatives. Now, lately, New Jersey and these cats, and then like Illinois, Pritzker, he was the governor and he created legalization. But in a lot of states, it's became from people-driven initiatives because they can't get the people that they were supposed to have voted in to do what we wanted. They're not doing that. Well, Measure 2 is created by legislators that wanted, it used to be House Bill 4001, passed through all the things. Now it's to the people. We didn't ask for it, but it's a veto power for initiatives. If we go out, we get the work done, we do things that are scary. Like I knocked on trailer court doors. I mean, I'm peeing myself just thinking about that, but I did it because the people needs cannabis. And it was, other people believe that, except for the people that we need to do the final kick. Usually politicians could do that final kick. They could do it a lot and they could remove the work. We wouldn't have to do it if it, wasn't the legislators not doing our wishes. So Measure 2 was created by them so they can give it veto power. So we go to all the work, it comes up, they'll force it through another time. So what used to happen in a year based on your signatures, you'd have to fight 2 years. It's just a mess. Boo on Measure 2. Like I said, Ellie Shockley, go to Protect ND. She's going to have everything up. And I did see things being posted, the people are putting up, and the media isn't cool with it. They're running with it on Boo on Measure 2. So anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson is all about cannabis and cannabis legalization, reducing the stigma and educating back to what it used to be, without any violence or any sort of, complications that I've ever found. And believe me, I look. So we're going to take a quick music break, and then it'll be Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. But again, Boo on Measure 2. Here's Sturgill Simpson. I'll see you in about 6 minutes. All right, we're going to let that be the intro. Beastie Boys, Hey Ladies, Paul's Boutique, one of the best albums in the world. Normally, I would have a intro tune, wake up, wake up, and then I would pan it down, and then I'd say, hey guys, welcome to Canna-Talk ND. It's 4:20. We got Canna news. Like I said earlier, we got a fresh bag of cannabis news, and I'm enjoying my witty, cheeky thing that I'm doing there. But anyway, I glean the week of cannabis news, and mostly, positive. Like I was going to say, if you came here to hear me, be both sides to the coin, that's all pro-cannabis here. I don't think there's, the negatives is so minute and it's still so illegal that, those are tit for tat. You know what I mean? So here we believe cannabis would change our state for the better. And I've got news. The FBI came out with the stats from 2016 to the fall of 2019, and I'm glad to get into it here in a bit. Everything's down. But again, when you start talking about arrests being down, when you find out how many people are being arrested in the beautiful United States of America, it is stinking horrible. So we really got to get that changed. And I'm beginning to think people will say, well, it'll be federally legal anyway, and it will. That's no question. And again, because we're in this COVID thing, we're in this economy thing, cannabis is just, you're going to become the brother that's either got the money or you got the brother that's begging the other brother. And states are getting like that. They look over at Illinois, they're all dancing in money. Indiana, meanwhile, is getting shot at a Gary, Quick Strip. Completely difference. So anyway, that's going to be the thing. But what I've noticed is it used to be states didn't want cannabis to be legal for, like I said, all these kind of reasons, youngsters getting into it, all these devastating effects on the roadways, but that just isn't happening. So that can't be the argument anywhere for these states. So I wonder, well, why? Well, because and this is horrible, they make money off the easy, low-hanging fruit of cannabis. They've got a budget around the easiness of getting the revenue in states like Indiana. They don't want it to be legal, not because they think it's bad. It's because it puts money in the coffers. And I thought, well, that was just weird things people say, just like you can't trust a doctor anymore because of Google. And I know it certainly makes me jumpy in the hospital when I've spent 20 hours like cyclically, Googling a weird bulge on my body. So there is that. But I really believe now, and it's truth, because Canada's legal, people are legalizing. In Mexico, they're kind of just giggling how obviously soon, and the reality is they're exchanging pot plants in the, in the legislative chamber. So that's the thing. And like, states are really wanting to hold off until the federal, because I thought they had good, moral, integrous reasons for doing it. But it isn't. The more I look at it, and the more states that legalize it, it's money. And they don't know how to make money off the cannabis, so they're not promoting, even though it's a good idea. And they all probably think it is. They're literally making that kind of money by it staying illegal. So there's no real reason but money. Money's the only motivator in some of those poverty-stricken states like Indiana, where they're still using the archaic kind of, medicine's bad, okay? But that doesn't hold water anymore, like I preached last time. So we'll keep moving. But like I said, educate yourself. Vote the legislators you believe will legalize cannabis, because it's almost becoming life or death. But anyway, this is Marijuana Moment, Kyle Yeager. This is really interesting. Marijuana arrests declined nationally for first time in 4 years, FBI data shows. Marijuana arrests in the U.S. declined in 2019 for the first time in 4 years, while many expected the state-level legalization movement to reduce cannabis arrests as more markets went online. That wasn't the case. So people just thought because it would be more, because you could get it legally, there'd be less arrests. But that wasn't the case in 2016, 17, or 18. They each saw slight upticks in marijuana busts year over year. But last year, there was a notable dip. The data published this week shows. Now, check this out. There was a total of 545,000, almost 500,000 marijuana arrests in 2019, representing 35% of all drug arrests, according to the FBI's crime report. That's down from 663 the prior year and 659,000 the year before that. Now, just put a little bit of money on there, right? Take 367,000 times 100, right? Like just your common fine for cannabis for a pipe in the park you were frisbee golfing at. You become the stat. And I don't even know if 100's a good number, probably more. So times 400 by over 500,000. And you got yourself a budget, ladies and gentlemen. And who wants to give up that? Because it's easy, low-picking fruit. And sadly, if you're white and you got money, this doesn't even apply to you. Because money's going to grease you through. And if you don't have them as much money, and you don't have a bunch of money, regardless of your race, but if you're poor like me, it becomes a problem. And that's all it is. They just want the money to put in their coffers in the budget. And states that have made it legal, we salute you. But isn't that crazy? 545,000 marijuana arrests in 2019. Put another way, police across the country made a cannabis bust every 58 seconds on average last year. Of those arrests, 92% was for possession alone, right? Not like I found you in my mom's house, with your hand in the jewelry box and you had a doob in your pocket, This is only cannabis. A decline in cannabis-related arrests is better than seeing an increase for a fourth year in a row, but the amount of these arrests is still abhorrent, said Marijuana Policy Project. Director Steve Hawkins. I think he's right. There is no reason to continue punishing adults for consuming a substance that is less harmful than alcohol. Arresting adult cannabis consumers has a dramatically disproportionate impact on communities of color, is a massive waste of law enforcement officials' time and resources, and does nothing to improve public health or safety. And that's what I've been hammering over and over and over again. If cleaning up the streets of all this horrible medicine doers, right? If everybody that was doing marijuanas for their, body's benefit, right? To mellow out their homeostasis and bring their bodies to chi, then let's get rid of them all. If you increase your range of motion by taking cannabis, by all means, we can't have you anywhere. That's not public safety, so it doesn't make any sense. So anyway, overall, arrests for drug sales, manufacturing, and possession amounted to 1,500,000 and something for the year. Approximately 15% of all busts reported to FBI from local and state law enforcement agencies. That's one new drug case every 20 seconds. Before 2016, the country had seen a consistent decline in marijuana arrests for roughly a decade. It should be noted, however, that not all local police participate in the federal agency's program, so these figures are not holistic. Nonetheless, this data shows that American law enforcement carried out more arrests for marijuana alone than for murder, rape, robbery, burglary, fraud, and embezzlement combined. We'll just say that again. This data shows that the American law enforcement carried out more arrests for marijuana alone than for murder, rape, robbery, burglary, fraud, and embezzlement altogether. Shame on us and shame on them. We got to get our act together. At a time when a supermajority of Americans support marijuana legalization, law enforcement continues to harass otherwise law-abiding citizens at an alarming late. Normal political director Justin Streckel, who was in Fargo, holla Justin. Now is the time for the public to collectively demand that enough is enough. End prohibition and expunge the criminal records to no longer hold people back from achieving their potential. While there's no solitary factor that can explain the recent downward trend in cannabis cases, there are one-off trends that could inform the data. For example, marijuana possession arrests fell almost 30% in Texas from 18 to 19, and that seems to be connected to the legalization of hemp and resulting difficulties police have had in differentiating the still illegal version of the cannabis crop from its newly legal non-intoxicating cousin. See that? It was too hard for cops to tell whether they should let you go or not, that they just couldn't. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's a win. That's a win for us. But it shows how loopholey and stuff cops are, because they're losing a cash cow. And that's just a horrible way. Our cops are supposed to be protecting and serving, not looking around trying to, make sure Grandma Ethel doesn't have the nasty marijuanas for her glaucoma. And I use exaggerations like that, but it's the only way I can, get through to those last two people that doesn't think cannabis has a benefit for everybody. Everybody can benefit, So anyway, that's good. Marijuana arrests have declined, and I wanted to. So anyway, I was going to talk about Nebraska quick. They unveil the new medical marijuana initiative for 2022 following Supreme Court defeat. And that's another thing where the officer, I'll read it here, but the previous proposal had already collected enough signatures. All right? And I'm quoting off of here. But a local sheriff filed a challenge arguing that it violated the state's single subject rule that prohibits measures that deal with multiple issues. Okay? A local sheriff filed a challenge because there was some legalese in the measure that he just happened to. He's sitting there drinking Old Milwaukee's with his buddy Officer Dingleberry, trying to figure out how they can keep the money coming in for their boats and their Alaska trips. And the door blows open to the bar. Here comes the sheriff. He's like, guys, check it out. My girlfriend is a secretary at an attorney's office in Aberdeen. No, Aberdeen is South Dakota. But anyway, a Nebraskan bar, Old Milwaukee, the good old boys trying to figure out how to keep their cash cow coming in so their ice houses can still have, internal heat. And they find it. And a local sheriff filed a challenge saying that it violated the state's single subject rule, which I know he couldn't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Not unless I'm looking at the last minute to try to stop something good. And it's something that's becoming more and more obvious that it's a benefit for this to happen. And it seems like I've been saying a lot that the momentum of cannabis legalization has been falling a lot on law enforcement's shenanigans and meddling into some sort of legalese they know nothing about. Like I said last week, go bust a tweaker and let the people in Nebraska who did all the work, they got a lot of signatures to be foiled by some schmuckball. Fires me up. But anyway, I salute you guys in Nebraska. Keep it up. And I wanted to find where it is. Oh, so here was their new proposal, and I quote, "Persons in the state of Nebraska shall have the right to cannabis in all its form for medical purposes." They believe that now, musters the single subject test, but it looks a lot like, when Measure 3, they got hit with the same funny thing. And nobody's going to tell these guys that this isn't going to work until they go to all the trouble. And then a cop is going to show up after some night of drinking and go, "Wait a minute, that's too vague. That's too vague. That can't work." And then it gets thrown out again, right? Cops got to figure out a way to make cash without busting the poor people on the cannabis plant that grows from nature, from God Almighty. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's what you're listening to for another 15 minutes. I go till 4:45, 4:20 we start. I'll be here next Thursday. I've had a little technical wrinkles, but it's not slowing me down, I don't think. So we're just going to keep right on pushing through here. What else do I have? American Medical Association, this is from Marijuana Moment again, asks Mississippi voters to reject medical marijuana ballot initiatives. And that's what you're going to start seeing. And it's funny how I see it as a guy who's sponsored a measure, who's gotten signatures, who is, the reason I even did this radio station was to immerse myself into getting the word out that cannabis is good and stop busting good people and let people make money from things that came here before you had the decision to decide if it should be good or not. You know what I mean? It was here before you got here, pal. So let cannabis grow and let's love somebody. But anyway, my point is now that we get up to November, it's October. Welcome to October. I'm sorry about Halloween. I don't know what's going to go on with that, but I know people who like doing it. I don't know. Maybe you got to get one of them tubes you can shoot candy out through your door that I've been seeing. Make the PVC tube and shoot candy right out your house. I'm not. I don't know. The pictures were pretty neat. But anyway, my point is we're getting into this political season. And I'd forgotten that there is opposition to cannabis, and I forgot the ones that are doing it. So here in Mississippi, you've got the AMA, which American Medical Association knows better. But anyway, there was a legalization initiative, and it's going to appear on the ballot. So it's already on. So now they're like coming and sabotaging almost. All right. So 2 medical associations are pushing. They reject this policy change. For supporters and opponents alike, the way the ballot is structured can be confusing. All right. So now people are going to criticize a bill to reject it, even though all these people, and even with Measure 3, everybody had a chance to look at it. We didn't just surprise people with it. Lawyers had looked at it, So where's this magical room that's got all the answers that doesn't get unlocked until, 3 weeks before it matters? But anyway, it's Initiative 65, and they're approving an alternative that appears alongside. So the purpose is to defeat Initiative 65, and it'll allow legislatures to enact changes to the law, which would not be possible with Initiative 65, the opposition campaign document states. So they want you, let's see. Despite polls that show support for medical cannabis at 81% in Mississippi, opponents aren't acquiescing to public opinion. It was immediately clear that this is an effort focused on generating profits for an industry that has no ties to the medical or, healthcare community. They want you to vote no on Initiative Measure 65, and I believe that you should, if you're in Mississippi, stinking vote yes, and that's the sad thing, because American Medical should be backing us. Backing cannabis for medical, so the fact that, that isn't happening is kind of weird. And so here's another one here. So basically, I think what I'm saying to you guys is, A, there's a lot of progress pushing forward with cannabis because the haters are showing back up. And so that's good. That's not a bad thing, but because the fight they're bringing is so weak and weird now. Because again, back in the day when only 2 states were legal, you could start pushing all this weird, driving and everything and no medical value. But that's a lie. It's not true. And now people are just holding off in their states because they want to keep the budget money. And that's all there is to it. So these are good articles here that I'm talking about. It's from the Star Ledger about New Jersey because they're going to vote too. A solid majority of New Jersey voters support the ballot question to legalize marijuana, polls show. They've seen that like the prohibition on alcohol in the 1920s, our war on weed is nonsensical and destructive. Black people are arrested. It's an extraordinary waste of law enforcement and a boon to the criminal black market. They're long past the tipping point on this with 2/3 of voters now backing legalization, and it's on the ballot. Let the people decide, our great leaders ultimately said. But what happened was, okay, so here's what's happening. So even public approbation does not guarantee that this will pass. So here's a pro tip. Dude, turn your ballot over. Because apparently their biggest fear is somebody who intends to vote yes, but either neglects to turn the page over, the voting ballot, or has some unforced error. They don't sign in the right place or seal the envelope properly. Polls don't mean much if those people don't vote. The weed question is on the backside of about 99% of ballots, and in some counties looks like the fine print of a credit card agreement. That doesn't bode well for the roughly 4.5 million New Jerseyans voting by mail for the first time in this election. So apparently, when you look at the ballot, so turn the page on marijuana prohibition, they're saying, and literally turn the page of your ballot. We believe that this is going to be more of a turnout campaign than a persuasion campaign, and I absolutely agree. So here's why it's so important to legalize weed. We're still arresting about 32,000 people a year in New Jersey solely for pot possession, which has a massive ripple effect in lost jobs, missed schooling, and even losing your house or custody of your child. So yeah, 32,000 people a year in New Jersey. And what did I say the number was? 630-some thousand cannabis arrests alone, just possession arrests alone in 2016. It's now down to like 530. But man, you put even a small number next to that and you multiply that by 250, say the smallest fine you'd get. That is a racket people will fight and die to keep. Ain't no cop in his right mind getting that kind of money that easy is going to go down without a fight, and we're seeing it, and they're doing it. They're nitpicking. They're being little party poopers is what they are, and they need to start being potty hoopers. I don't know. I just made that up. But anyway, this at a moment when more than half of American adults admit to having smoked pot, including presidential candidates like Kamala Harris, Jeb Bush, Ted Cruz, and our governor, Phil Murphy. Again, we're talking about New Jersey. In fact, survey shows the U.S. has nearly as many marijuana users as cigarette smokers. It's a mild drug that is less harmful. So again, we know all that. And it's crazy to me that we're seeing, so it's progress. People are picking arguments that just don't work anymore. Sad thing is I guess we do need politicians when they're working for us. So we really need to vote the right people in and vote with your conviction, and less of a party. But I'm not to tell you how to do all that. All I'm saying is put some thought into it. Let's try to get the right people that can do the right things for us, because it's going to be federally legal anyway. And so in a state's blah, blah, blah overview, we want to be able to control that for the best of us. And so we need to be involved at a state level, and then with our representatives, blah, blah, blah. So I thought for fun, I would talk about CBN. And I, again, apologize if this is a little jumpy and bumpy. Normally it's a little smoother, but I believe I'm doing pretty good. I just don't have access to my articles and my Apple Music, which I normally have a curated playlist. But again, I'm just kind of flicking through on my phone here, and I got music lined up like I always do. And so let me see here. Let's talk about CBN. This is, what is CBN? And this is interesting, CBN, I'll just tell you. It's basically the residue of burnt cannabis. That's what I get out of it. We'll see if you guys do. And just for fun, do you say cannabinoid or do you say cannabinoid? I say cannabinoid, you say cannabinoid. Everybody, cannabinoid, 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 cannabinoid. See what I'm saying? 3 times real fast, go for it. You're up. All right, so anyway, is it cannabinoid or cannabinoid? I like the cannab part, but I don't know if it matters. So if it's cannabinoid to me and cannabinoid to you, you can still hang out in my party. So let's read. There's perhaps no cannabinoid more misunderstood than cannabinol or CBN as it is better known. Once thought to be the primary source of the psychoactive effect associated with marijuana, CBN has an ancient tie to cannabis' first concentrate, hashish, and is now being explored and isolated to provide relief for conditions like insomnia. The mysteries of Indian hemp. When the UK assumed control over India in the mid-1850s, it was inevitable that the subjects of the British Crown would eventually encounter and consume cannabis in one of the plant's primal regions of cultivation. The nation's subsequent interest and concern in the plant's resinous products led to the formation of the Indian Hemp Drugs Commission in 1893. This commission represents the first major Western attempt at understanding cannabis, the humble path, blah, blah, blah. So CBN was the first cannabinoid successfully isolated from chara, which is hashish, by British researchers in 1896 and in 1933. And it was the first cannabinoid to have its chemical structure successfully elucidated. So here we go. A cannabinoid in decay. CBN was immediately and wrongly singled out as the primary instigator for cannabis psychoactive effects. They fully explained CBN's existence as a product of THC's degradation by heat and light. So consumed. In this way, CBN is almost the ghost of THC. Years later, in 2008, Dr. Ethan Russo examined a well-preserved sample of cannabis flower that was roughly 2,700 years old, and they deduced that the flowers had a relatively high THC content because they found a large amount of CBN during testing. So it had degraded, but yet had the highest level of CBN, which, let's find out. Cannabinoid, when taken internally, induces delirium and sleep. It seems to have a fair amount of therapeutic potential. Apparently, if you get a tincture, 50% THC, 50% CBN, it has wellness-enhancing properties, including an ability to mitigate anxiety, PTSD conditions, so on and so forth. Sublingual tinctures for immediate blah, blah, blah. Apparently, there's Mary's medicinal CBN-only transdermal patches. But what I thought was interesting about it was that if you had cannabis and you let it get old, you would think, oh, boo-hoo, this is old. I got to get rid of it, or, I don't know, make some THC soup. But we now know that there is a cannabinoid that exists, the older cannabis gets, which has its own, it has its own benefits, has its own kind of lane, if you will. So you don't throw it away if you got, oh, this is old cannabis. Well, what you got now is something high in CBN. If you have insomnia, you can't sleep, bingo bango, the old grass makes you go night-night. Who knew? So cannabis is such an amazing thing. The fact that it has its own DNA and there's a male and a female, and it will clean out the earth. If you grow hemp alongside, say, like the oil rigs out there, it would mine the ground underneath, extract the negatives, and leave you with whatever diamonds they're finding in there, whatever jewels. So cannabis is amazing, folks. We got to get it legalized. So boo on measure 2, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson here on Radio Free Fargo, 95.9 here in beautiful Fargo. Moorhead's next to us. This hour of music on KRFF 95.9 LP-FM is being underwritten by Flatland Guitar and Luthery. Flatland Guitar is your full-service guitar shop and your exclusive dealer for Yamaha, Taylor, and Paul Reed Smith guitars, and many others. They also sell guitars on consignment, as well as take trade-ins, along with having a full-service on-site repair center. Check out Flatland Guitar and Luthery on Facebook or visit them at 1450 25th Street South in Fargo. Canna-Talk ND on YouTube. You can listen to this, Radio Free Fargo, on the archives. Canna-Talk ND on YouTube. Canna Heads on Sunday. That's on Canna-Talk ND too. That's kind of more of a deep dive into cannabis and politics, blah, 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 blah. He's my tech guy. He does a great job. Thank you, Philip. And we have come to another Canna-Talk ND end. I don't really know how to end, so I'm going to play a tune. I'm going to think about it, and then I'm going to come back. Here's Run the Jewels. That was Dansonia, Memory Drawer. Right before that was Run the Jewels, New Run the Jewels. Canna-Talk ND here on Radio Free Fargo, radiofreefargo.org. You can donate. You can listen to other stuff wherever you are in this beautiful blue marble. Canna-Talk ND every Thursday at 4 o'clock. 4:20, I give you a week's worth of cannabis news and progress in the legalization realm. Normally I have a curated, music path that I also drive through. There was some technical difficulties. I would appreciate you staying with me with that. Next Thursday, again, we're going to talk about cannabis legalization. 4 o'clock, I'll get in here. 4:20. Before me is Side Stage with Trav. He does noon to 3. Then it's automation until 4 o'clock, and then it's me. Then we got locals on the 8, and then something else. I really hate that I don't remember. But you should just always be listening to Radio Free Fargo. KRFF 95.9 LPFM, Moorhead, Fargo. 701-478-4959 is the number to the studio. It's a beautiful evening here in Fargo. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's who you've been listening to here. We talk about cannabis news. And in a jovial, high, non-political way. And we about to close the door on this one. Again, I'll see you next Thursday. And you keep it locked here to Radio Free Fargo. Canna-Talk ND on YouTube. Canna-Talk ND on Facebook. Appreciate you guys listening. Anybody listening to this show, can't be bad in my book. Cannabis legalization, it's what I focus on every week. And I'm here every week, every Thursday. You can believe that at 4 o'clock, your little buddy Cannabis will be promoted in a positive light. I'm going to get out of here now. You know what's going to happen. David Allen, Judgment Day.